This is a podcast called 25 Whistles, talking football, and they all wear a whistle. Yeah, it's stupid, but what did you expect? It's a podcast called 25 Whistles.
25 Whistles, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of college football. Download the DraftKings app. Use the code BobbySports to get in on the action. Somebody blow that whistle of love.
I got you.
Eddie's back in here again today. What's up, buddy?
What's up, dude?
You linger.
Look at everybody. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
How are you?
Kickoff Kevin?
Doing great.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Big week for football.
Let's go.
We're very excited. Mike D?
I'm good.
How you doing, Mike D?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Coming up, we have South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer from his office in Columbia, where Eddie just kept talking about
Cox.
all over and over.
Yeah. Big ones, little ones.
To the point where it got like a little bit embarrassing, but he just kept on like going like, so tell me about this cock thing. It was on.
Well, do they not want us to do that? Because I feel like if the University of South
all the time.
But if the University of South Carolina wouldn't want us to do that, they would change it to the game chickens.
But they're not called game chickens. Regardless, it's up. And our video today, Too Much Access at the University of South Carolina, is up, where you can watch Eddie and I run 40s. Eddie and I catch balls.
I'm still hurting from that, by the way.
Are you?
Just still.
We did, what else? Oh, and we threw. Quarterback competition.
Yep.
So all that's up. Just go over to Too Much Access Bobby Bones on YouTube and check it out. All right. Let's get it. Let's get the tittle tattle.
It's time for the stupidest name ever. It's the tittle tattle with Kickoff Kevin.
Bobby, which AFC division do you think is better overall? The AFC East with the Bills, Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins, or the AFC North with the Steelers, Ravens, Browns, and Bengals?
I guess I would look at the ceiling first, which team I think could actually go the farthest. And I think I would put the Bills slightly over the Bengals. Slightly, but I would put the Bills over the Bengals.
Really?
Yeah, I would go, if I were, Bills as the one. Yeah, in the AFC East. And then the Bengals as the one in the AFC North.
Are they still saying Joe's coming back start of season?
Should be. They're not saying he's not, right? Have you guys heard he's not?
No.
I haven't either. So Bills over Bengals. The second team in each division. I think all four of those teams in the AFC North are going to be pretty good. Like, I do think that the Bengals are going to be good. The Steelers have a chance. They played really well second half of the season. Kenny Pickett's small hands and all.
Small Kenny.
Yeah.
Small Kenny hands.
George Pickens last year, rookie, was very inconsistent, but man, real flashes of brilliance. And I think he's that dude for sure. I think the Ravens are going to be good with Lamar Jackson, healthy, getting paid. OBJ. And I think the Browns are going to be good. I mean, their quarterback apparently hasn't been getting a lot of massages. So, he's staying out of trouble. And Deshaun Watson, 2001 maybe his last year he played? He was a really good quarterback. And so they have a good so that North is solid. Now, if we just look at the East, the Dolphins, I feel like the Dolphins are a really good team, obviously. I just wonder if Tua gets hit in the head one time. What is he out, 6 weeks? He had three concussions last year.
If he gets another one, he's got to stop, right? Like, those are a lot of concussions to keep going in the NFL.
I just think if you're going to stop after one more concussion, you should stop before you get that one more concussion.
Right.
So
Yes.
I don't think if he gets one more concussion, he stops. He may be out for a while, but I don't think he retires. Unless it's a bad one. Because if you're like, okay, one more concussion and I'm retiring, you don't go through all this. Because eventually you're going to get another concussion. It's the nature of this game. So I agree with you. But I also probably wouldn't have walked away either. It's your dream, your whole life, millions of dollars.
You worked so hard to be there.
You're in Miami.
Yeah.
So I think the Dolphins are going to be good. With Waddle and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
They're good.
So the Dolphins are good. The Patriots have a chance to be pretty good. And the Jets, I think their ceiling is winning the division. I think their floor is being fourth overall because we just don't know, one, what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, and two, that team, and two, if that offensive line can have some sort of consistency. I mean, they've had such inconsistent people even starting, much less the ones that start consistently performing well. So as the Bills are the number one team, I think the AFC North overall is the better division.
Okay.
So it would have been hard to overtake the Bills in that division, but they did because the other three teams are better than the other three teams. So I would go AFC North. Eddie, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting that you still have questions about the Jets. I mean, I think that they're going to be.
I think they're going to be good, but I have tons
So
of
good.
questions. Their offensive line sucks.
Yeah, I know.
Aaron Rodgers has never had an offensive line ever in the history of him playing that has been this I won't bad, but has been based on data this incompetent as an offensive line.
It's just like with Dalvin Cook back there and the changes they're making, and it seems like, and again, I'm not going to fall for dumb.
You are falling for it.
Hard knocks
Yeah,
stuff. But
you got hard
when
knocksitis.
when you get an inside look of how a team is, psychologically, it seems like they're really got it. They got it together. Really, like that head coach and I think it's the defensive coordinator and all of them just kind of seem like they've got it together. And then the fact that they have Aaron Rodgers there, they're like, guys, this is our dude. And just to see how impressed they are by Aaron Rodgers.
And press don't block defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. I'm rooting for the Jets. I think they're going to be good. But the floor is just utter failure because Rodgers doesn't have time to throw.
I think is it the East? Is that what you said? Is it the East?
AFC East.
AFC
yeah.
East.
I think they're so strong.
You think the Patriots?
Which they got Zeke now. Well, yeah, man.
Okay.
Of
Oh,
course,
God.
absolutely.
Hey, thanks,
All right.
man.
We're not biased at all.
If Zeke comes from America's team to another America's team,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Patriots, this is going to be a no-brainer.
Real America's team?
The
No.
two hated teams.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, again, the AFC North, any of those four teams could win that division. Any of those four teams can make the Super Bowl. The Browns would be the one that I would say is the biggest long shot, but the Browns have the personnel. And when you go over to the AFC East with the Dolphins and Jets and Patriots and Bills, the only team I can really see making the Super Bowl there would be the Bills with an outside shot of the Dolphins or very outside shot of the Jets if Rodgers is good. I can't see the Patriots making it this year. New offensive coordinator, even though he is a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still going with the AFC North.
He's a what?
A dog.
What does that mean?
He's good.
Oh, that's what you say
He
when
goes
someone's
hard.
good? Arr.
He goes hard. All right, go ahead.
We all remember the hype of the Broncos last year and their disappointment. Which team do you think will be the Broncos of 2023?
So, hype and disappointment. That's all we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So, what teams are hyped? The Chiefs,
Chiefs are always hyped.
but they're hyped, or they just talked about appropriately since they do win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got the best player on the planet.
Yeah. So, Chiefs are hyped, Bills are hyped, Eagles are hyped. You could go through the teams that win. Bengals are hyped.
Yeah.
The Jets have some hype because of Aaron Rodgers. The Giants have some hype because of Dable and Jones and Saquon getting the 1 year deal, and they performed better last year. And Daniel Jones in his second year apparently making huge strides. Oh, it's tough. Like, who is expected to be good?
I mean, you don't want to put the Cowboys on there? Because, I mean, they actually
That's
are.
every year.
That's every
But
year.
hold on. For once, though, that's just the fans. For once, though, the people, like the critics,
That's tough.
TV is actually saying that the Cowboys may actually be good this year, which
That's tough.
is weird.
But that division's really good, too, because I think the Commanders are going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least not as terrible as they were.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Jets only because, and I believe the Jets will win some games. They can win 10 games, but I think the Jets have the biggest chance of one of the teams that people are expecting to win not to win.
Man, I
Just
disagree with you. I think
interior-
they're going to be so good.
I think they're going to be good too. I hope they're good. I want them to win. I like Aaron Rodgers.
But like the Broncos last year, they're in a tough division. That doesn't help
and
either.
it's like the Chargers, right? Everybody's like, look at the Chargers. Herbert getting hurt, and then who do they have to play all the time?
Yeah.
The friggin' Chiefs. I mean, look at their division. That has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Broncos, though? Like, what about them? Are they going to be better this year?
No, I expect nothing from them.
Okay.
Really?
I mean, you can't be worse. Just watch, they still look completely incompetent in preseason.
Yeah, that's true.
I did think, okay, Russ can come back, win 9-10 games. Sean Payton, they just don't. But I've seen nothing to make me feel differently.
Better than 500?
Probably around 500.
Okay.
They'll probably figure it out a little later in the season.
Okay.
All right, next up.
Opposite of the Broncos last year, the Seahawks stunned everyone. So who do you think will be the Seahawks of 2023?
The Steelers didn't make it last year, but they were awfully close. And Tomlin's never had a losing record as a Steelers coach. the Steelers would be my pick if that even counts, but I think people kind of expect the Steelers to be at least as good as they were second half of the year last year. Again, they play in a tough division. But the Steelers are that. I think the Browns have a really good shot at that because, again, they have the personnel. If you have a really good quarterback, if Deshaun Watson plays as good as he's getting paid to play, then they're going to be good. They got Amari Cooper. They got a really good running game. So, but then I look also at the freaking Saints. Nobody expects the Saints to be good. They play in a terrible division.
Yeah.
And I think Carr's a better quarterback than people give him credit for because he played in an organization that sucked, which was the Raiders. So Steelers and Saints would be the teams that I think could do that. I think Steelers is kind of a cop-out answer because I think people expect the Steelers to be good, and they almost made it last year. So then I'm going to go with the Saints because they did not almost make it, and the Saints are terrible. That whole division is terrible, and a mixture of the two. And Michael Thomas, if he's healthy,
Yeah.
and David Carr, I feel like that the Saints could actually make the playoffs and just win that division. We got Tampa. Yeah, Baker Mayfield. I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. I think they're going undefeated. But let's say they don't.
I was going to say.
Let's say they don't.
Yeah, that's your
Tampa, Carolina. Carolina's not going to be any good. Not this year.
No.
Not with a rookie quarterback. So, New Orleans. Who am I forgetting in the division?
Atlanta.
The Falcons. The Falcons could be okay. I mean, you believe in Desmond Ritter? I don't know.
I believe in Bijan.
I mean, yes, but I don't think they can carry the whole team.
No, I don't think he can either.
So I'm gonna go with the Saints. Is my answer.
Okay.
Next up,
Last one here. If you're playing in the NFL right now, which head coach would you like to play for most, and which head coach would you like to play for least?
most probably Andy Reid because I know if I'm a or Shanahan, I know if I'm a quarterback or a running back, wide receiver, skill position player, I'm about to be a all pro if I start.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid just schemes. Andy Reid's awesome, and he seems pretty chill. So I'll probably go Andy Reid. The one I want to play for the least, I'm not going to say Belichick because I understand why Belichick is the way Belichick is, and he's won championships. I'm going to go with, but he's also not the head coach anymore.
Maybe like Arthur Smith.
I like Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith's a football guy.
Yeah,
but so let's go to New England. Offensive coordinator this year again is
Bill O'Brien.
Right. So Bill O'Brien was with Saban. Bill O'Brien was with the Houston Texans. He was even like the GM for a while of the right. Wasn't he like the GM / coach?
Very Belichick of him.
So I think I would like being in that offense. I'm trying to talk myself out of picking Belichick. What about the Raiders? Okay, Josh McDaniels. I don't want to play for him.
There you go.
He seems like a total douche. And when I hear players talk about playing for him back in the day, they hate him.
Yeah, except for Brady.
But Brady was
He's a douche too.
no, but Brady was told him what to do. That's the difference.
Yeah, no one told Brady what to do.
Right. I like to work with people too. Let me walk all over them. Wish I had people on this show like that, but I don't. So
That's funny. I would have gone with Belichick. I would have wanted to play for Belichick because
You would have wanted
because
to?
he's so good.
you
Yes.
want? No, I said no.
Oh, I say you don't.
No. I was gonna pick Belichick as the don't, but then I'm like, no, I think I would be okay with it. And then I tried to convince myself because obviously I play offense, and Bill O'Brien's offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Obviously,
Obviously.
You eventually got there.
So yeah. I was working it out in my head.
Got
I was
it.
showing you guys my work.
Got it.
So I'm going
Beautiful mind style.
Yes. Josh McDaniels, no. Andy Reid, yes. All right, that's the tittle tattle. Thank you.
Stupidest name ever. It's the tittle tattle with kickoff cover.
Okay. Just a reminder, the 25 Whistles is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of college football. Download the DraftKings app. Use the code BobbySports to get in on the action. Here's what we're doing, friends. We're knocking this thing out. Brace yourself for a 4-game parlay. 4-game
Four
parlay.
games.
We're going hard with a 4-game parlay. A 4-game parlay. We're going hard with a 4-game parlay. A 4-game parlay. We're going hard with a 4-game parlay. A 4-game parlay. Here we go. We're going all money lines. Tennessee against Virginia in Knoxville. Take that one as a winner.
Nashville.
They're playing here?
Yeah, they play at Nissan Stadium.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, winner.
Should we all go?
Pass.
Okay. That was quick.
South Carolina is the underdog against North Carolina. They are playing in Columbia.
Does this have anything to do with us just being there?
Yep. all.
Okay.
We're going with South Carolina money line. Win. The LSU Florida State game is a good one. You're talking about 2 top 10 teams. Mm-hmm. Remember, they played last year. It was a heck of a game. Florida State put it on them last year. Was it a field goal at the end of the game?
Yeah,
I remember watching it and being like, oh, no, LSU sucks. And then they got really good.
Yes, and then we realized both teams are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thought both teams sucked. Then we realized they're both pretty good.
Are we gooing Tigers here?
We're going LSU for the win. And then Washington over Boise State.
Well, that's a rando.
It's a good game.
For the
No,
win.
just a rando.
Those
pick.
are your 4 right
Okay.
there. You like it?
Good payout on that? Probably, yeah.
I didn't type it in.
Don't worry about it. I'm sure it's pretty good with that undie dog.
4-game parlay, 4-game parlay, 4-game parlay. If you take 25 whistles parlay, you can check it out on DraftKings Sportsbook. New users use the code BobbySports when you download the app. 21 and up in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. See show notes for full details. Now, we went to Columbia, South Carolina. It has nothing to do with why I picked them, except for
Nothing to
this.
do.
I think South Carolina's good.
Yeah.
They got some offensive line questions like the Jets, but I feel like they can actually fix their offensive line.
And we saw their weight room.
That's right.
It was very
There was
big.
nobody lifting though in there. That's what
No
scared
one.
me.
There was this one guy thinking about lifting.
Yeah, he wasn't even lifting any weight.
was-
There was a guy that was like passed out on the floor. Remember that?
Yeah. He had lifted too hard.
Yes.
So, our arrival in Columbia, we got to our rental. We just started recording because we were going to do our Too Much Access show, which is up, the video version of this. And so you're going to hear us get there, arrive, and talk. After the ride, you'll hear Eddie and I talk with Coach Beamer. Some things about Coach Beamer. He's the son of former legendary Virginia Tech coach and Hall of Famer Frank Beamer. He was a walk-on wide receiver at Virginia Tech before becoming a long snapper. His team entered the college football hopes last year at both Tennessee and Clemson. Both those schools can suck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only out of respect, though.
Of course. Respectfully suck it.
When I say I hate your team, it's only because I respect your team and your team wins. So suck it. You can follow Coach Beamer on Twitter at Coach S. Beamer. Here he is. Coach Shane Beamer. Coach, first, thanks for having us today. We really appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
My first question, I'm going to let Eddie ask because he's been bothering us about this for like 2 hours. Ask it.
Do you guys, and don't get offended, Coach, because I don't know the real terminology, but do you guys have a chicken mascot? Like
He means a literal animal.
A real
Yeah.
cock.
Yeah.
And I have trouble saying the word cock.
Yep.
That's why I keep calling it chicken, but if we're going to cock it, we'll say cock.
We do. Sir Big Spur. I'll have to show you before you leave.
It's the same one. It's the literal.
Yeah.
Because we have a boar. LSU has a tiger.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah.
Does a family raise it like Bevo? I know the people that have Bevo.
Yeah. It's one family that has it. They bring him
That's
to all the
wow.
games. He'll
See,
be
I
on the
didn't know that.
sidelines. I've got a video on my phone. He's like, he'll come in this facility every once in a while. So I've got a video on my phone. I've got a picture on my phone of me sitting right there on that couch holding it. And then my first year here, he was just hanging out in the building one day. And you could just, hear him do his cock-a-doodle-doo or whatever it is as well.
How do they pick the mascot?
That is a good question. That is
Is it like every 5, 6, 7? Do we know? Because the Georgia Bulldog, there's a whole ceremony. Bevo,
Yeah.
there's a whole ceremony.
I don't know the time frame. I should. Probably a better question for someone else. But we've had the same one, I guess, since I've been here.
So it's not like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. One day there's one of them playing on Full House, and then you
twin
don't even
cocks.
know when the other one's. That's one. It literally is one.
Yeah, they haven't told me it's a different one. It's one. It's at every game.
And how
Travels
big-
in style.
How big is he, Coach?
I mean, that's literally that picture right up there on that
Okay,
wall.
that's a good-sized chicken.
Is me holding it. That's after the bowl game a couple years ago. So it's
But that's a drawing, Coach. You can't point at a drawing and go, "That's to scale."
Am I
He literally
Somebody
pointed at a
painted
cartoon
that.
and was like, "This is what the size is."
am I allowed to get up in the
Yeah,
middle?
yeah,
of
you
it?
can get up.
All right, hold on.
He points at like a finger paint. It's a nice art. But he's like, "Look, that's proof."
There's the real picture. See, real picture.
Okay.
Oh, that's a big
That's a big bird.
Thank you.
That's a big bird.
So that drawing is very much to scale.
But you pointed to the drawing of all things, where you were like, "Look at this piece of art that someone interpreted. That's the size." Okay, let's talk about the program. I was watching you at SEC Media Days. I think I watched almost every coach at SEC Media Days. I think you guys are going to win the East. I've said that. I feel like the voters were not as respectful of South Carolina as they should have been. Your thoughts?
I would not disagree. I know it's coach speak, but it's true though. We don't pay a whole lot of attention to what people are saying, whether it's good, bad. Just worry about ourselves and what we can control and try and get better. But I'll be the first to admit it's a little, surprising. We had 2 top 10 wins to finish the season. We're returning our starting quarterback in Spencer Rattler. We're returning an all-conference receiver in Juice Wells. We're returning a freshman All-American, 2 freshman All-Americans in the secondary. Got some really good players coming back, our punter, our kicker. And, to not be ranked was surely a little surprising, I won't lie, but that's okay. We're worried about what the rankings are at the end of the season. That's all we're worried about. Let's try and be the very best team we can be. But I really like this group. I'll say that.
Have you ever not liked a group, though? You don't have to say which group, but, we
question.
hear that most. I really love this group
Yeah.
of players. But has there ever been one where you're like, secretly, I don't like this group?
No, it's kind of like on signing day when you always hear coaches be like, it's a heck of a signing class. No coaches ever come in and said, it's a bad signing class we just put together. Nobody's ever done that. I think there's different. I think I've always liked the groups. I think certain groups are maybe other teams I've been a part of. Selfishness maybe isn't the word, but you realize that you're maybe not as close and as together as you would like to be in a lot of ways for different reasons. But this is a group that when I say I like them, I'm going all the way back to January when we started off-season workouts when our players came back for winter conditioning in January. Since January all the way up until now, they've been the same group, just steady, hardworking, just kind of fly under the radar and worry about ourselves and keep trying to get better.
Is there a personality with each year, each class? Does it always change year to year? And what's the personality of the team this year?
I think it always changes year to year. There's no question about it. The 2021 group was our first season here. That group was different than 2022, and 2023 is different than 2022. This year's team, it's kind of a unique mix of returning core guys like Spencer Rattler and DeCarrion Joyner that have played a lot of football for us, but then it's a huge mix of just true freshmen that just got here that are going to have to play big roles for us. So it's kind of that mix of older guy that there's a newfound enthusiasm in a lot of ways, I think, because of the new freshmen and the youth that we do have here on the team.
Talk about DK for a second, where he's a COVID senior and he's played at every position.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to play running back this year predominantly, unless I'm wrong. But he's played wide receiver, he's played quarterback. Like, with a guy that knows that much, is he also like the 4th string quarterback as well as the running back?
He could do it all. There's no question about it. I mean, he what a great person, first and foremost. Great football player. Receiver, like you said, running back, quarterback. He could do it all. Was the MVP of the bowl game 2 years ago as a quarterback. Played receiver all last year. He's been a really good special teams player for us. He's 100% a running back right now, but absolutely, if we got in a situation where we needed him to play quarterback, he knows what to do and could go in there and do it.
Dang, I wish I could do any of that.
I know, me too.
I'm not an athlete anymore.
Coach,
we're both sore, by the way, today.
Because we worked out
We worked
one
out
time.
yesterday.
Oh,
And-
well, if you're sore after one workout,
No,
that means
after 2.
you're not doing
We
it
took
enough.
a week
It was
off.
2, Coach. Don't
Then
be
we came-
silly.
Then we came back.
Okay, all right.
Coach, you were talking about country music a little bit before the interview, and with artists, people are just like, oh, they just they record music and they sing on stage, but there's way more that they do. They do meet and greets, they have to do radio interviews and stuff like that. What's something a head coach has to do that most people don't even think about?
Great question.
Like, do you clean the bathrooms or something? Like,
Part of the deal.
Great question. There's so much because, like I always tell the story, I got hired here in December 2020, and I literally felt like it was the end of February 2021, like 2 months later, before I did anything football related. Just because there's so much, particularly when you're in the SEC and when you're a college coach, fundraising. Raising money, whether it be for your Gamecock club or whether it be NIL or obviously recruiting, the speaking engagements that people ask you to do across the state. So I love that part of it, but there is just so much. I don't know one thing. I mean, to me, there's a bunch that stand out. That even growing up the son of a coach, until I sat behind that desk and in that chair, I don't even know if I realized just the magnitude of all the things you do outside of coaching.
When I was briefly considering this 2 years ago, running for the governor of Arkansas, because I had some people approaching me, and I was like, what do you do when you run instead of just go shake hands, meet people? They were like, no, you have to be on the phone and ask for money all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. People see you on TV or you do, but it's mostly 6 hours a day on the phone going, I need money. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with coaches these days, it's not direct asking, but I would assume that because of NIL, because of booster, because of money you need to build facilities, that it's a constant, we'll call it political game where you need money to keep this thing going and to keep it thriving. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Used to you did your local, like your booster club events in the springtime, and I would do still do anywhere from 6 to 11 of those a year, where you're going out and you're speaking to the Gamecock Club about the program, trying to raise money for your booster club on campus. But now you're also doing fundraising events for NIL to raise money for name, image, and likeness. So during the springtime, I think I spoke to 4 different events in the springtime at night, just going out and visiting with people as well. So certainly it's about developing relationships, and we got some amazing supporters of Gamecock athletics. For sure, that are eager to support this program. But yeah, that's a big part of it, and like the direction that we're going. But yes, there's a lot of parts. Probably to go back to your question, fundraising, having to do a lot of that as well in the different events. But it is what it is, and I enjoy that part of it too.
Do you ever just call any of your really rich friends and go, "I need money"?
I think you're developing relationships all the time, and
I get those calls, by the way. And I'm not really rich. I'm pretty rich, but I'm not really rich now.
Yeah.
But they'll call me like, "Hey, XYZ, can you help out?"
Yeah.
I don't know who they are, just a mystery. But that happens.
It does. Yeah, there's no question about it. And fortunately, a lot of those people that I'm making those phone calls to are guys or, men or women that understand the lay of the land in college athletics nowadays, and they want to see South Carolina athletics be successful, and they realize that that's a part of it as well, whether it be maintaining, we're in a beautiful facility right now, whether it be the money to continue to move forward and have amazing facilities like this, or whether it be NIL or whatever it might be. Certainly there's some great supporters of Gamecock athletics, and we've got a lot of people that are willing to help, and certainly I've made those phone calls and will continue to as well.
It's got to help that you're not old, that you kind of are closer to the players, closer to their age, closer to understanding and it's probably, I would assume, why you and even me, I like NIL. Mm-hmm. I think it definitely adds a difficult wrinkle because it adds more competition in a lot of places. But I like NIL because I believe that if I'm in class and there's a influencer who's really good at doing yoga and she can make $10,000 a post, the football player gets penalized, the basketball player, and they can't do it at all. Right. So I'm a big advocate of NIL, but I think that's because I understand how to and why there's a need to make money with social media, with ways that maybe weren't able to be done 25, 30 years ago. Do you feel the age gap not as wide with you and the players as, I don't know, even some of your older coaches, where you have to kind of talk to them about what's happening?
Yeah, no, I think so. I agree with you. There's so much good that has come from NIL. You hear about all the horror stories and things like that, but we got some guys on our team that are doing amazing things with it, being able to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. You mentioned Decarrion Joyner. Decarrion Joyner is one of them, and the biggest thing for us is we talk about the team here always, and that's the most important thing. But certainly, I'm happy for these guys when talking about raising money. Like, I want to do that, and I've told our team this, and it's the truth. Like, I want to go be able to raise money and bring in money to help you from an NIL standpoint. If you deserve it and you've earned it, I'll jump on the table and raise money with the best of them to be able to take care of our guys. But certainly, we're all learning, whether it's me, a younger coach, or an older coach, or somebody younger than me. We're all learning and going through this thing for the first time. But absolutely excited for our players and love being able to help them in any way that I can.
If I was a coach, I'd be funneling money through my own money through accounts. I would for sure build a shell account. Once I built a shell account.
What?
Well, I did this whole campaign against myself.
Yes.
I just started in Nashville. We had just started a national show, and I had to look it up on the internet. I built a shell company to fake where the money was coming from, so I could buy these billboards to trash myself so people wouldn't know it was me. So I had to figure out how to take people away from, because they looked it up. My company chased it. They hired a private investigator. They couldn't figure out who was spending the money to trash me. Little did they know it was me until it came out 4 years later in the Washington Post. But I think I would do that as a coach. I would. So my question is, are you doing that?
Between us, coach.
Yeah. Wait. This is going on.
The scary thing is I have no, if I do, I don't know about it. Like I have no idea where my money goes. It all goes to my wife, and she's in charge of everything financially. So ask her, but I don't believe so.
I didn't think you did. I just wanted to lay it out there how it could be done.
I've got to ask her, like, can I borrow $20? You know, because she's in charge of the money in the house and has all the cash.
Having kids, is that a different pressure? Because if you don't perform well or you perform wonderfully, like your kids feel both ways. That would be tough as a dad.
It is. There's a lot of highs and lows. We lose a game. We as coaches come right back in this facility the next week, and it's right back to work, and we're kind of in this bunker mentality and oblivious to the outside world because it's right back to work. Whereas we lose a game, Monday morning they're back in school, and as they get older, my oldest is a freshman in high school now. My youngest is in fourth grade. They're hearing stuff when they go back to school and things like that. So there's a lot of highs and lows. Like I tell them, one, it was a good experience for me because I grew up the son of a coach, so I saw it firsthand. And like I tell my kids, it's one, this is what I do, but it's not who I am. So there's a lot of great things that they get to experience because of my job. But also the flip side of that for them is there's some negatives that you go through. And frankly, they get it. Like, we don't win football games. I get fired here and we have to move. And they know that's part of the reality. But I'm also fortunate that that I'm in a job where I can include my family and the coaches' families in a lot of the things that we do, whether it be coming to practice, being in the locker room after games, things like that. But it's certainly a challenge for my wife and I now that we have 3 children, but especially as these 3 children get older. And it's different when you're the, tight ends coach at Oklahoma where I was before. It's a difference between that and now you're the head football coach in the SEC, and all responsibility is on my shoulders.
Does Darius give any money?
Darius is very supportive.
To the football program?
Darius is very supportive.
How much?
I don't know specifics.
All right.
You'd have to ask Darius.
I will ask Darius.
We have a recording studio.
No.
You have to ask coach's wife.
I literally will
coach's
ask
wife.
Darius
She's got the
how much money you get.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yes.
I don't know. Darius is very supportive, wants to do whatever he can to help the Gamecocks. I played golf with Darius 3 weeks ago, and we had a lot of great conversations about the athletic department and how he can help and fundraising and NIL and whatever it might be.
He cheat?
No. He did not.
He didn't do the old foot wedge, coach?
I didn't see it, no. We
Were
had
you
a
looking,
great...
though? And you probably wouldn't have said anything anyway because it's Darius.
Yeah, I would have looked the
You're
other
really
way.
going to call him out for that,
No, we had
right?
a great time. Me, Darius' son, Jack, we had an awesome time.
He's really
playing.
good.
Yeah, there were some pretty good golfers. Not talking about me. There's some pretty good golfers in that group, and we had a really fun time out there.
Do you have a favorite NFL team?
Not really. Growing up, when I was in Virginia, first of all, backing up, I grew up in Murray, Kentucky. My dad was the head coach at Murray State out there until 1986. So that back then, that's when the old St. Louis Cardinals football team was alive and well. So we used to go to old Busch Stadium in St. Louis and go to Cardinals football and baseball games. Then we moved to Virginia. This was before the Carolina Panthers and the Redskins were that's Redskins country up there, Commanders now. So kind of followed them just because I was close. But no, I'm at the point now where I really just kind of follow players that I've coached or been around and coaches that I know and things like that.
Are you too inside to actually romanticize it anymore? Because that's how I feel about music. Like, I can't really – it's hard for me to be like, I love this artist because I just kind of see what – I can like their art.
Yeah.
But I don't really look at them as this big – prominent figure of culture.
Yeah.
They're just like an idiot who's good at music.
Yeah.
Just like I'm an idiot who's just kind of funny, So, do you think you're so inside that that's hard for you to separate?
Yes and no. I think when it comes to like teams and things like that, because this will be my 24th year in coaching coming up. So you've met enough people and you've developed enough relationships with people where you've got connections at all these different teams, players, coaches, whatever it might be. So it makes it a little bit different. But, certainly there's those players and coaches that are still, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so and things like that even now as a head coach, I still feel that way about, certain people.
The old school guys are awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that's who I got on a Southwest flight once and sat between Barry Switzer and it doesn't matter, Barry Switzer. I sat next to Barry Switzer.
Yep.
The other guy doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Stuff in my mind right now. But I was geeking out. That's Barry Switzer. He's from Arkansas.
Yeah.
He coached the Oklahoma thing, whatever. But my whole family's from Oklahoma, so screw him.
Yep.
But the Cowboys, but it was Barry Switzer.
Yeah.
And it's even those artists that I listened to as a kid, they're still super cool to me. It's all the contemporaries
Yeah.
that I'm just like, you're just a dude.
Yeah.
You're just a dude like me.
No, there's the old school. You see those guys come around, those old school guys like Mike Singletary was in my office like a year and a half ago, and I'm sitting there.
He's still big?
Oh, my God. So I'm scared to death. He's sitting there staring at me like he's just staring right through my soul.
Like the old videos coming through the Bears helmet.
Yeah,
His eyes
exactly.
are
That's how I
amazing.
felt. Like literally we're having a conversation. He's got those same eyes on me. I'm like, oh my God, this is Mike Singletary. Absolutely. And I know what you mean about Barry Switzer. Like I went to Oklahoma as an assistant coach in 2018 was my first year at Oklahoma. And like I grew up like Barry Switzer. And then you go to Oklahoma and I'll never forget like seeing him in a restaurant and going up to him and introducing myself. And I was like, Coach Switzer. And I'm like, God, this is Barry Switzer. I'm Coach Switzer. I'm new tight ends coach here at Oklahoma. I'm Shane Beamer. It's an honor to meet you. He's like, nice to meet you, Steve. And you know what? I didn't correct him. I'm like,
Whatever.
Barry Switzer wants to call me
That's
Steve.
my name now.
Call me Steve. You call me whatever you
Forever
want,
be
Coach.
Steve Beamer.
Coach, I mean, no doubt that during a game the stress levels are so high. How do you decompress when you get home?
Good question. Family, my family keeps me honest for sure, and they keep me humble without a doubt. So for me, whether after a game, usually, the games, we play so many night games, game ends and go in there and do the post-game press conference with the media, do post-game radio with our local radio network. Then I tape our, weekly coaches television show. So it's a few hours after a game before I get home. So if it's a night game, usually I get home and everybody's already gone to bed.
You watch TV shows or anything?
When I get home, I'll watch like highlights of games when I get home, just kind of catching up on the day. Off season, like during the season, I really won't do much other than just football and recruit. Out of season, I'll read a lot, try and get in the shows if I can, here and there in the off season. Enjoy just, being with the family, playing golf, whatnot. So I feel like I do a pretty good job of trying to decompress when I have time to.
All right, final 5 questions. Talk about your offensive line. When really reading in depth about the team this year, one of the questions that's most asked is, how's the offensive line going to perform this year? What are your thoughts?
I'm really excited about our offensive line. Now we lost some serious contributors, guys that were starters last season, so we got to replace 3 starters on the offensive line. But the returning guys have been really good. We brought in a transfer from Yale, Nick Gargiulo, that's going to really help us. We brought in Jackson Hughes, a transfer from Charlotte, who I think is going to help us.
Like a tax guy? Jackson Hughes? That's the same name?
That's him.
It is the same name, right? I'm not crazy?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Yep, JAX though.
Okay.
But the thing that I'm really excited about is the freshmen that we brought in. It's hard to play on the line of scrimmage as a true freshman, but because of our depth, our guys are going to have to. But I'm really, really excited about the freshman class, and they continue to come along. So they're practicing with a great edge about themselves right now, great mentality that they're practicing with. So I'm really excited about the offensive line.
Coach, I have a 9-year-old playing football right now. It's his first year, and I told him how important it was about the first impression that a coach has on you. So first day, second day, play hard.
Yeah.
That first impression is important. Did you ever have a first impression that's like, it's not so good, but they developed into such a good player that you're like, you know what, that didn't even matter?
Yeah, I think you have that all the time, honestly. And I think a lot of times you have to just, I don't want to say chalk it up, but you realize you're getting 18-year-old young men out of high school, and a lot of them, or all of them, are away from home for the very first time. Maybe it's the first time they've ever been in a different environment than where they grew up for 17 years, 18 years. And it takes time, so that's probably the biggest thing. There's certainly some freshmen anywhere that I've been, whether it be Oklahoma, Georgia, Virginia Tech, here, or maybe a freshman comes in and initially, first impression, whether it be that moment or the first month on campus, where you say to yourself, man, it's going to be really, really hard for this guy to ever become a player. And then he matures, he grows, he becomes more and more accountable on and off the field, and he ends up becoming a really good player. So, yeah, I think that happens probably more often than you think.
The nature of the beast in coaching is you move around. Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned a few of the spots you've been. Were you at Mississippi State for a while? Mm-hmm. So if I give you one of the programs you've been to, just in a word, because all the cultures are different, even the towns are different, just give me a word to describe Norman, Oklahoma.
Flat.
just generally the land. We go right to the land. We're doing like topography. Okay, got it.
I like it.
No. It is like I
312 longitude. No, I don't. I think you're okay. Let me do this. The University of Oklahoma.
Great people, just tradition. That's what I love about it. I mean, you go there. When I got there, there were, I want to say, 6 Heisman Trophy statues at the time, and I think 47 conference championships. So you drive into work every day, you drive past these Heisman Trophy statues, you go in the indoor facility, and there's Orange Bowl banners and conference championship banners, and it's like, oh my God, just the tradition at this place.
Mississippi State.
Cowbell,
I'll say it. Ding, 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 ding,
yeah,
ding, ding, ding.
Cowbell. When I think of Starkville and Mississippi State, one is my first full-time job where I was actually getting paid, and 2 is where I met my wife. So for me,
is she from there?
She's from Starkville, born and raised. So I go to Starkville, and that's where we met. She was working in media relations at the time, and first time I ever saw her was a home game. I was a coach for Mississippi State. I was in the press box, and she was working in the press box for media relations. And you don't want to be like one of those sound cheesy, like love at first sight moments, but I still remember it vividly. The elevator doors opened, and I walked off the elevator, and there she was, and it was just one of those.
What'd you do?
Kind of looked at her and went to work because we had a game. But in between series, I was making sure I was going out to like media relations to get something to drink, use the bathroom,
Attaboy,
grab
Coach.
a popcorn, whatever. Like I'll hustle right back just so I could see her throughout the game.
All right, last 2 questions.
Coach, what's your favorite football movie?
Favorite football movie? Well, The Program's a classic.
Oh, that's
because
so good.
The Program was filmed right there in Williams-Brice Stadium, so that one's a great one. And I would probably say Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
I love sports movies. I was just talking with one of the players this morning. They're like, "What's your favorite sports movie ever?" And I said, "Hoosiers," and they had never seen Hoosiers, and it's like, come on, man.
But also, you picked a basketball movie.
I did, but it's a great movie.
That'd be like me picking a Korean film. Like, what's your favorite movie? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a North Korean special. You wouldn't expect that from.
Still a sports movie, though.
Yeah, and that's a human movie, the North Korean.
Coach, in the program, the Omar Epps, they do that whole fumble
Yeah.
thing where he takes the ball to class. Have you ever done that with your students?
No, but I've heard of people doing it as well. But we talk about it all the time in practice, outside of practice. We have pictures of it in our meeting rooms of what it's supposed to look like. I coached at another school previously where they didn't do that, but if a guy ever fumbled or had carried the ball poorly, the next day there would be the most terrible pictures that you could find on the person. Like somebody would go and find something from Facebook or Instagram from 7 years ago, and they would just plaster the pictures of that player all over the football building, as well.
Cyberbullying. We like that, do we? We like cyberbullying.
It wasn't me.
That's
it
what we
wasn't
want to
me.
do
It was
here.
another school.
Okay.
It wasn't here, and
Well, I'm glad we're our last question, Coach, because I don't know if I feel as good about this program as I did before I got here. I'm kidding. Okay, final question. We walked into the film room a second ago, and you had a bunch of coaches, and you were watching practice, and I saw how excited everybody got from one play at practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally when you kept rewinding it, and you're like, look at this. This is paying off. It's one play at practice, but I think, to me, that's how important a detail is.
No question.
Can you explain to me what's happening in that room that we walked from right now, and then what will happen the rest of the day in there?
Yeah, no question. A great question. So we practiced this morning, and then the players get a little bit of a break, and then the coaches, they immediately go into the meeting room, and we as coaches will watch offense, defense, and special teams every play from practice.
Well, you watch it again? So you watch it out there, then you go and you watch it again?
Watch it live in person. Wow. Then we watch it together as a coaching staff, and then we'll watch it tonight with the players when they come back over here for meetings later on. So if you're a coach, you're going to see it 3 times at least. But yes, it's details. But the one thing that was getting a lot of guys excited about that one particular play, it's, to me, preseason practice, where we are right now, getting ready for the first game. It's an awesome time of year because you're not getting ready for an opponent yet. It's all about yourself and just trying to get better. So that particular play had a lot of guys excited because it was a player on our team that, we challenged kind of last night in a team meeting that when you want to be, you can wreck practice when you want to in a good way because you can be dominant and take things over. And that particular play was a guy taking a play over from a defensive standpoint, and it was the offensive coaches, but it was one of those wow, this guy can be really, really good, and it was pretty cool to see that young man respond to being, challenged last night to be the kind of player that we think he can be. And that's what this is all about, just building guys up.
It's cool to see. We all had our shirts off in there. It's funny. There's the kegs. It's crazy. Then we came out.
Really?
Yeah, people wouldn't believe what happens
it's
here when the
wild.
players aren't around.
Greece. They're just dumb. It's great. Coach, big fan of you. Big fan of the program. I mean, this is my second favorite school. Oklahoma.
It's family, man. Family.
No. Our family is like the coach of the Oklahoma softball team too. Yep. She's won like 6 national championships.
No.
So I have to root.
And that's the other thing too. When you talk about things that stand out to Oklahoma, that's one of them. Coach Gasso, and like being able to go to Oklahoma, and you got Coach Gasso, who has won so many national championships in softball,
now.
women's gymnastics, and you had Bob Stoops, living right down the street that was always around. So just the Joe Castiglione, the athletic director. I mean, it's just like men's gymnastics has won a ton of national championships. So just the tradition in all sports and the level of expectation there was pretty cool as well. So I get it. If we're your second favorite school,
They're
that's,
like
that's
the
pretty
one.
awesome.
But yes.
If we're 2 and 2A, it's good. 'Cause
You're 2 and forced, whatever that forced number is. But Joe C's awesome. I love Joe.
Yes.
Joe's like my dude.
Joe's awesome.
Yes.
Joe is awesome.
Coach, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Y'all are
Coach.
awesome. Yeah, appreciate
Eddie,
you.
did you say hi to Coach?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just
we
like to
said
say it
hi.
at the end because it's awkward.
Okay.
Like, just
Hey,
say hi to
Coach,
Coach.
how you
Good.
doing?
All right. Thanks, Coach. All right. Thanks to Coach Beamer. That's my favorite dude.
Oh yeah, he's awesome, man.
He's my favorite dude.
Man, I meant to ask him if he has a boat.
And you didn't even ask if there was a gator anywhere.
Well, I knew there was no gator.
Yeah,
We
but-
talked too much about chickens.
Still,
I didn't want it to be too much animal talk. You know what I mean?
my favorite guy. That's my favorite dude.
Everywhere we go, Eddie, you should find the animal to
Yeah,
talk about.
boats or gators, dude. You're really messed up.
I love animals.
College football fans, Week 1, DraftKings Sportsbook's hooking you up with a can't-miss offer to start the season strong. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Anything can happen in college football. Your team could go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple of years. Change comes fast. The only thing that's a lock is great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. Life's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code BobbySports. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code BobbySports. The crown is yours. 21 and up in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. See show notes for full details. We love fantasy on this show. Fantasies, which we talk about off the air.
Yes, we love both.
And then we talk about fantasy football on the air. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
Up next is fantasy football expert Faraz Siddiqi. Faraz created his own account called Upper Hand Fantasy, gained over 150,000 followers on Instagram, over 2,500 YouTube subscribers. This is the guy that I go to. I just started following him, and then I reached out and was like, you want to come on the show? He's great. You can follow Faraz on Instagram at Upper Hand Fantasy for all the best fantasy advice ahead of your draft. Here he is, Faraz Siddiqi. Faraz, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Bobby, nice to see you.
Good to see you. Although I do watch I even watch your Instagrams in the off season when you're talking about college players, Senior Bowl. Like you've managed to turn this into a year-round, like I don't know about job, but a passion that's turned into a job. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, man. You know, honestly, the off season is where it's even more fun, to be honest with you, because you're kind of like trying to project these players going to the next level, right? So the Senior Bowl stuff, the college scouting stuff, it's a lot of fun for sure.
And I do want to start there as we get ready for fantasy football, both drafting and even playing. When you talk about rookies, obviously Bijan Robinson, we could go to Detroit and look in their backfield. Both those running backs were drafted in the first round. But who are the rookies? Because I'm always scared to draft rookies, but who are the rookies that actually can make a difference this year?
I mean, if you take a look at the wide receiver position, unfortunately, we have an injury already. Jackson Smith-Njigba hurt his wrist. He's going to have a procedure. He's going to be out potentially for a couple weeks to start the year. But you go further down the line, Zay Flowers for the Ravens could potentially be Lamar's wide receiver one. Obviously, Mark Andrews is the guy to target there, but Zay Flowers could make a pretty good impact even early on in the season. Quentin Johnson, somebody to pay attention to. However, he does have a couple wide receivers most likely ahead of him right now. But one of the really, really interesting rookies that I'm looking at, there's a few rookies later down the line, like Michael Wilson for Arizona. He's starting, right? So there are a few wide receivers to pay attention to outside just the big names.
Arizona, they're going to try to tank the whole season. I just wouldn't want anybody on the Arizona offense if I did. And I'm not saying that he's not going to score points, but I mean, me personally, don't you feel like Arizona's going to try to lose every freaking game?
Yeah, probably. And their defense isn't going to be good, but they're going to have to throw the ball a lot regardless. Now, I do play a lot of dynasty fantasy football, and I know the year-long thing is mostly what people do, but for dynasty, he's somebody that I'm paying attention to. There are some talented guys you could potentially get super late in drafts just to pay attention to, because a team like the Cardinals, they're going to be bad. Their defense isn't good, so they're going to have to throw the ball. Whether it's Kyler Murray throwing the ball or not, they're going to have to throw it. So somebody's going to have to get those targets.
A couple of just very broad fantasy questions. What position do you prefer to draft from generally 1 through 12 in a 12-person league?
I like to pick relatively early, maybe top 3 or 4. And then I don't love the middle picks. I like to go somewhere around the 8th spot or so, because when you're around the 8th spot, you can be pretty sure, whether you're in a 10 or 12 team league, that in the second round, you're going to get a pretty good stud. Like, I've seen Devonta Adams fall around there. You can get guys like Garrett Wilson potentially around there as well. So if you can kind of have those top two players really, start off your team with 2 really, really good studs, that's really nice. Now, in the top 3, you're obviously going to get someone like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, somebody who's really going to hold your team down. I prefer that, or somewhere closer to the turn.
We had our draft pick selection. So we haven't done a draft yet, but you get your name drawn, you get to pick what pick that you want. So it's not like we draw a name and, okay, Eddie, you got the second pick. It's like, Eddie, you get to pick second, that type thing. And so I got the 3rd selection of spots. And Mike, what'd you get?
I got 1.
You got the first selection, and you picked what?
1.
You picked 1? Mm-hmm. So I think I went 3rd, and I picked 9 because of what you said, that I would rather, for me, I can get a good running back in the first round, and then I can flip around quickly and get another good running back or a wide receiver at that 2 spot. So I also don't want the pressure of Jonathan Taylor, that number 1 pick, like last year, and he gets hurt, and then all year long you're just screwed because your number 1 pick went out pretty quick.
Bobby, I told you not to take Jonathan Taylor early.
Listen. I mean, and what's Jonathan Taylor now this year? What the heck where's he going to end up playing? Miami, Kansas City? What do you think?
Who knows? Miami's already made some calls, apparently. Apparently, they've already contacted the Colts. I don't know what kind of compensation they're going to have to give up here. They want a first-round pick back. I mean, that's just kind of crazy, to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to get anything like that, but they are getting contact. They wanted to get Dalvin Cook, but now they can get a much younger running back. They're going to have to pay up, though. That's the only issue.
Are you worried this year that Jalen Hurts last year could have been I won't say fluke, but that he could have extremely outperformed what he's ever going to do again? Because they kind of know what he does now. They kind of have an understanding of that Eagle offense more than they ever have.
Yeah, I think so. It is in the realm of possibility. I do think that is, in his range of outcomes for him to. He was very, very efficient last year. This was not a pass-first team last year. This was mostly focused on the run game. But A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, they helped him out a ton. And now they're bringing DeAndre Swift. I think that is a little bit of a new wrinkle that's a little underrated here in the receiving game. I know that rushing quarterbacks tend to not throw it to the running back position. However, DeAndre Swift is somebody who is a receiver, right? He is not a running back that you're just checking it down to. He's going to be running routes downfield, underneath coverage and that sort of thing. So I think that adds a nice wrinkle. As long as he can stay healthy, I think because of him, he's a little bit of an X factor here in this offense, kind of continuing and building on what they did last year.
So where does he rank in your quarterbacks then?
He's number 1. He's number 1. And the reason why he is number 1 is because of the fact that he does everything. He is kind of the perfect quarterback for fantasy. Number 1, he is a rusher, right? That is the number 1. It's basically a guarantee that you're going to be a top 5 quarterback, right? The way that he runs. Number 2, he's used at the goal line, right? He was used so much at the goal line with, the little tush push. They almost changed the rule because of it. They did not change the rule, so they're going to continue to do that and allow the offensive line to push Jalen Hurts into the goal line on the 1 yard line. Number 3, he's passing the ball a really, really good amount. He could put up the passing yardage on top of the rushing yardage, and he has the weapons, right? So he has everything. When you look at someone like Lamar, potentially this year, I think he's going to pass the ball a lot more. But from what we've seen in the past, where he did finish as the overall QB1 before, it was really about the rushing. Now, he did lead the league in passing touchdowns, but the passing yardage was not there. So he was missing that little piece there. But Jalen Hurts, there is not one piece of his game for fantasy, at least, that he doesn't have.
Justin Fields had a really good back end of the season for fantasy. It was, up in the upper mid-20s. First part of the year sucked, but he's got a true number one receiver now. How do you kind of feel like Justin Fields is going to play fantasy-wise?
He finished the season as the QB5, so the overall number 5 quarterback in PPR. And there's no PPR in quarterbacks play, but in points per game, fantasy points per game for Justin Fields. This is across the entire season. Okay, and this is without DJ Moore in an extremely run-heavy offense. And I think this offense is going to continue to be relatively run-heavy, but bringing DJ Moore in, Darnell Mooney actually healthy for a season, Chase Claypool potentially healthy too. He has Cole Kmet. He has a couple of weapons in the backfield, Khalil Herbert. I think this is going to be a different offense this year. And the fact that he has more weapons that he can utilize, also he'll be dropping back a little bit more with the addition of a true number one in DJ Moore. I think he is potentially in line to be the overall QB1 when it's all said and done this year. He has that upside. I do have him ranked in my top 5 this year.
Tony Pollard injured last year at the end of the year, but also, not the biggest back, but it's not always about being the biggest back now. We see that. Tony Pollard, do you think he can be that RB 1, 2, or 3 overall?
I do. I think, one of my bold predictions on the show the other day was him finishing as the overall RB1 for fantasy. I have him ranked as my RB3 going into the year. And I think it's just a matter of, listen, he was the RB7. He was an RB1 last year, right? He was a top 12 running back in fantasy. And that was with Zeke Elliott stealing all the goal line carries, stealing, a ton of rushing attempts. This is going to be Tony Pollard's show. We just had, longtime Cowboys scout and, beat reporter Brian Broaddus on the show yesterday. And he basically said that he's on a 1-year deal, right? He's on the franchise tag. They have no reason to worry about running him into the ground. And I think that's what they're going to end up doing this year. He's going to get all the touches. They didn't bring anybody back. Zeke signed, with New England. There isn't going to be another running back taking touches away from Tony Pollard. And because of that, we saw how efficient he was last year, even with Zeke there. Now you add the goal line role to what he already had, more routes run, more rushing attempts, as long as he stays healthy. And obviously that is the question because he hasn't handled this type of workload before. He can easily finish as the overall RB1 this year.
Speaking of staying healthy, Cooper Kupp with the Rams, just an absolute killer 2 years ago. Last year, struggled a bit with his health. Will he ever be that guy again?
I hope so. I mean, before he got hurt last year, he was the number one wide receiver, scoring-wise on a points per game basis. So I do think he can be that guy. Now, we have to be a little bit concerned here because of the injury that he had last year, high ankle injury. And then on top of that, he had a little bit of a procedure to fix that. And now we're seeing a soft tissue injury. He is over 30. That's not great. So, if you want to be a little safe here, you don't take him over guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, right? You potentially take someone like Tyreek Hill over him. You potentially take Travis Kelce over him, Stephon Diggs. That's if, and the last couple of guys that I mentioned, that's if you really, really want to be safe, right? But the upside is still the overall wide receiver 1. The way that Sean McVay schemes Cooper Kupp up, right? And then on top of that, his ability, he still has the ability, right? And it's really a matter of him staying healthy. The other risk here is that does Matthew Stafford stay healthy the entire season, right? So there's a couple of, potential issues here with Cooper Kupp, right? You have to, weigh your risk when it comes to picking him. But the fact that there are so many good first round picks this year, without as many questions, however, maybe not as much upside as Cooper Kupp, there's a decision to be made there.
If Cooper Kupp is available at what pick, you must draft him. Like, where should he bottom out at?
I would say pick 7. Pick 7 is really where I'm at. So basically, what does that mean? That means you pick Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase. You picked Tyreek Hill, potentially Bijan Robinson, and Travis Kelce. I think those are the guys. Am I missing it? Oh, Austin Eckler too. Austin Eckler probably before Bijan Robinson, right? Bijan Robinson can probably be picked at around pick 8 or so. So I think those are the guys that I think once they're off the board, I'm probably taking Cooper Kupp.
Two tight ends I want to talk about quickly is Darren Waller with the Giants for the first time, and then also Kyle Pitts, who, I mean, he's been alive, but not barely for fantasy, and a guy that
Right.
I've had a lot of hopes on. So talk about both of those guys and your expectations for both Waller and Pitts.
I think Darren Waller, he showed it in the preseason, right? All offseason, in training camp, all the beat reporters have been saying that he is Daniel Jones' guy. He is the number one target, and no one's even close. We heard that, and then we saw preseason action. And in the preseason action, it basically confirmed all the priors, right? He ran a route on every dropback. He got targeted on 40% or 50% of the routes that he ran by Daniel Jones with the first team. So he's going to be his guy. His only question, can he stay healthy? But he does have top 2 upside at the position. He can finish over Mark Andrews and probably under Travis Kelce, assuming that Kelce doesn't lose a step at age 34, right? But Darren Waller has that upside. We saw it a couple years ago, on the Raiders. Now he is the clear number 1 target. So he's going to potentially, most likely, lead the Giants in targets. And we're also seeing and hearing about Daniel Jones taking a step forward here, right? In the second year with Brian Dable. We've seen this before, right, in Buffalo. So I'm not saying that these two, he's the same quarterback as who they have in Buffalo. But at the end of the day, like, you got to understand that if he's going to take it to the next level, and on top of that, you're going to have somebody who could potentially lead the team in targets, you got to target him. So he's a big target of mine. Okay. Who is the other tight end we're talking about?
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is somebody that you should continue to buy into, right? My issue is their head coach, Arthur Smith. He does weird things. He drafts talent high, doesn't use them as well. The route participation needs to be there. What does that mean? He needs to be running a high percentage of routes on every single drop back that Desmond Ridder has. Are we going to see that? The preseason usage was a little bit iffy, to be honest with you. However, he was an alpha target earner last season, despite him not coming through for fantasy. And usually this is a buy low situation. He's one of the biggest buy lows in like the history of the tight end position. He is somebody that you should buy low on. Don't give up on him. He can easily finish top 3 this year, maybe higher.
Let's do a quick round of what's their ceiling. So give me where you think they can peak here. For example, let's go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville as a team's been playing pretty good. That offense was pretty good in getting better last year. It seems like that once they got rid of their coach, things went a lot better once they changed out their entire staff there. So how do you feel about Trevor Lawrence? What's the ceiling on how he finishes this year in the quarterback rankings?
I think his ceiling is a QB4 overall.
Running backs, Austin Eckler.
RB1 overall.
Saquon.
RB4 overall.
Wow, that's all, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at Saquon's efficiency last year, it fell off a little bit. I do think he's going to be targeted a ton this year, but the efficiency just might not be there. I think there's a lot of other younger running backs with a good amount of involvement in the passing game, goal line roles, and overall volume that I think that he could potentially not get there where he used to be, top 2, top 3.
Okay, final question here. When it comes to the Kansas City offense, let's take Kelce out of it. Let's take Lamar or Patrick Mahomes out of it. Who else on that offense should be draftable for fantasy?
It's tough, man. It's a little bit of a crapshoot. However, I think if I'm going to take a bet on anybody, it's Sky Moore. Sky Moore is the one who has been consistently working with the first team this offseason. 12 personnel, 11 personnel. He's been on the field. You can't bet on Kadarius Toney staying healthy. And regardless of whether he's healthy or not, I think Sky Moore's going to be very involved. He was a pretty good receiver coming out last year. Obviously, he didn't play in the Power 5. So, there was a little bit of a ramp-up period needed. But I think he's a pretty good receiver. I liked him coming out last season, when he came into the NFL. And I like him this year. It looks like he's pretty involved with Patrick Mahomes and the first team. And the team has been raving about him a little bit. So I think Sky Moore is somebody that you can get in the 11th or 12th round of your 12-team drafts this year and potentially be surprised.
We were talking about upper hand fantasy before you came on. So it's a big time for you. Is it busier now before the draft or during the season?
It's extremely busy right now. The month of August is absolutely nuts because everyone's trying to get a little bit of your time. However, during the season, it's more of the same thing every week, which gets a little, tiresome by November. So the good thing about the off season is that we can get creative, right? Like there's a lot of creativity involved in this, right? And you're, you have a show, and every day, every week, you're trying to come up with different ideas and that sort of thing. And that's kind of the beauty, and that's what I enjoy. However, during the season, right, it gets to the point where all right, waivers every Monday, Tuesday, right? Start sits Thursday, Friday, trades every week, who do I start on Sundays, right? So it gets a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a routine. But it's busy both times, but in different ways.
I want to encourage everybody to go to Upper Hand Fantasy. The reason that I know Faraz is because I just literally found his page and was like, dang, I love this dude. He's my favorite of all the talking heads that talk about fantasy. His talking head talks the best. That's right. Faraz, appreciate it. Everybody go check out at Upper Hand Fantasy on Instagram, YouTube. That's where I watch a lot of it as well. And we'll check back in with you 5 or 6 weeks from now. How's that sound?
That sounds great, man. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
All right, Faraz, see you, buddy. All right, that's it. Thank you, guys. 25 whistles. We're ready. Let's go. College football. It's exciting. I don't know. It's just like the best time of year. But I say that whenever March Madness comes to. And then I say that. There's like 4 times where I declare it.
Masters weekend.
Yes, to be the best time of the year.
Really is.
It's the best time of the year. At least it's the best time of the year. I'm going to say it.
Do you know what my wife actually told me? She said, I'm going to try to watch more football with you this year.
Let's go.
I'm like, wow. I think she said that like 2 years ago too, and she didn't watch a lot. But
at least she's trying.
She is trying.
At least she's saying she's trying.
That's awesome, man.
You guys follow us on social media. All you got to do is go over to @25whistles. Thank you, guys. We will see you coming up. On Friday, we have Coach Gus Malzahn on, former national championship winner.
Awesome.
Yeah, at Auburn, now coaching at UCF. John Rice Plumlee, the quarterback, used to be at Ole Miss, now is at UCF. So we'll do that coming up Friday. More football, obviously. We'll see you guys then. Bye, everybody. Blow the whistle.
Oh, I
Blow the
got you.
whistle.
Where's my whistle?
Thank you.